Welcome to History at High Noon today. Just a reminder that we will be getting back on our normal schedule, which is the fourth Wednesday in the month. We're still in Hannah. We are speaker in March on the 23rd, I believe. I don't have a calendar in front of me. That's what I think it is. And reminders, Pet Cemetery, Lanterns and Legacy is the 18th and 19th. And if you haven't picked up your tickets, let me know. You need to come get them quickly. Today our guest is from South Georgia State College. He is Professor of Education and Chair of Education Department. But I first met him because he married Amy Holton. So that's how I knew him. So today I'd like to welcome you to welcome Dr. Kit Carson. Thank you, Kit.
Thanks, girl. Well, this is kind of the first time that I've ever done anything like this as far as history goes, but I'm happy to be here. I am told that I'm a direct descendant of the legendary Kit Carson back in the 1840s, 1850s, right around that particular era. Now, I can't necessarily prove that. All I can do is, I could nowadays, I guess, submit a little bit of DNA and they could probably go back and see if that's actually true or not, but I'm just going to go by what my parents have told me and provide a little bit of history surrounding Kit Carson and what he did or didn't do. You know, history is interpretation anyway, I guess, right? Because none of us were there when it happened, so we don't know. We don't know what happened. All we know is what somebody wrote about what happened from their perspective. And that might be wrong, it might be right. I don't know. You never know. So, but some of the stories are interesting. So, some of the stories surrounding Kit Carson are quite interesting. We do have my family has a few artifacts, mainly newspaper articles that are in the Historical Society back in my hometown in Iowa. They're right there, but I was telling Johnny that as far as any significant artifacts like maybe his gun or something, you know, that he used and stuff like that, and who knows where that stuff is, but you know how it goes. So 1840s, he was born in 1809, so that's quite a few years ago, so he's fourth or fifth removed from me as far as my grandfather goes, so but I'll go ahead and tell you what I know, and I wrote a few things down so I don't tell you the wrong stuff, and then I guess what I'm supposed to do, right, Carol, is tell a little bit after we're done with Kit Carson to say exactly how I ended up in Douglas, Georgia, I guess. Which is kind of a story anyway, so, but as Carol said, I've been at the college now for about 22 years right now, and all my life, I spent 22 years in the military as well, so everybody, as long as I can remember, have called me Kit. My father went by Kit as well, and he was a World War II veteran. And the whole family has used the name Kit, but that wasn't his real name. In fact, I don't really know how he got the name Kit, because his real first name was Christopher Carson. And actually, my third son is named Christopher too. So, but I can't find anything on how he actually got that particular name, Kit. But I know he was, depending on what you read, sometimes you'll find out that he was one of 10 children My parents have always told me that he was one of 14 children. Of course, back in the day, they had to have kids, right? So, for a number of different reasons. So, he was one of 14. A lot of people, some people that I've talked to, when I do talk to them, some people have said, well, you know, wasn't he was an Indian fighter, wasn't he? That, well, you know, it depends on your interpretation of what an Indian fighter is, you know, back in that particular era. I know for one thing that he really hated the Blackfoot, the Indian tribe of the Blackfoot. But just like everybody else, they kind of mellow as they get a little bit older. You're not too much, you know, you might be an activist maybe in your 20s and 30s, but then as you get as old as I am, which I'm 73, so you start mellowing out a little bit and you say, well, you know, maybe I had the wrong idea there. And that's what Kit Carson did. Actually, he was married 3 times. Twice to Indian girls. So, he, in fact, his first wife was Indian. First wife was not an Indian, and then shortly after some of his kids died, he married another Indian girl, and then finally another one after that. So he was married 3 times there. How many of you know of the Oregon Trail? How many of you know of the California Trail? Not too many, right? Because it's not represented in history that well. But actually there were 2 trails. One was the Oregon Trail, and one was the California Trail. And he was part of both of those trails as far as scouting and especially for John C. Fremont. Everybody know who Fremont is?
Yep, California.
Huh?
Man from California.
Yeah. John C. Fremont, a legendary steamboat person, and then a Western expansion person as well. Kit Carson did a lot of scouting and a lot of exploration with John C. Fremont. He met him back in the 1840s. But actually there were 2 trails, and the Oregon Trail was primarily the best. Of course, they split right around, I believe, the Santa Fe area, and they, you know, one went to Oregon, one went to California. Back in 1841, I think, you saw a mass exodus to go out west for a number of reasons. Primarily was land. Secondary, I guess, was in search of gold and stuff like this. But Kit Carson didn't really do that. He spent his time, a lot of his time was spent in Missouri, actually. And he was, when he was at a young age, 9, 10, I believe, somewhere around there, his real father died, and his mother remarried. However, he didn't get along too well with his stepdad. So when he was a young age, I believe 14 or so, he finally couldn't take any more of his stepdad, and he joined one of these traveling, back in the day, a lot of trapping was going on. He was known actually as an excellent trapper and a guide, a scout. So he was working in a saddle making shop back in Missouri when he decided and didn't really make his mother that pleased, but he decided to join this particular group going out west that was involved in fur trapping. Back then, things were kind of tough back then, you know. Of course, there weren't any cell phones, you know, or anything like that. So it was kind of sparse. a lot of people think when they watch some of the westerns, you know, you'll see people riding in the wagons, you know, they're full. They didn't do that though. Not really. If you've ever ridden in one of those wagons, you'll find out why. Because you're not going to make it 2 miles before you're just beat to death. And you can imagine traveling 2,000 miles on one of these trails in the back of a wagon? No, no way. So a lot of them rode horses, a lot of them walked alongside the wagons. The wagons were normally used for the transport of goods and stuff like this. So Kit did a lot of that exploring and a lot of that pioneering on the trail. He was known for, like I say, the fur trapping business. He made a name for himself as an explorer, as a Indian scout, but like I say, through the time, as the years went on, he kind of mellowed as far as the Indians go. But I do know that he did not, I mean, he'd kill a Blackfoot Indian with not a second thought, because he thought those were the most savage as far as the Indians went. But actually, in a lot of the history surrounding Kit Carson is the people on the Oregon trails and the California trails and stuff like this. They feared the Indians naturally, but really the elements, the diseases, like smallpox, chickenpox, stuff like this, were probably what they had to fear the most, other than the Indians. Actually, the Indians, really most of them, just wanted to barter, just wanted to trade for different things. We were talking about the legendary, you know how the movies portray Indians scalping people, right? Well, really, it didn't come from Indians. Indians weren't the first to scalp people. Actually, the Spaniards were the first when they came to this land. They did all the scalping. And there was only like 1 or 2 Indian nations that actually practiced in that particular, whatever that was. I don't know what it is, but there was quite a few books. He wrote an autobiography concerning his exploits as far as traveling the West, and he eventually had, I think, during his marriages, I believe he had 6 or 7 kids, I believe, and I can remember my parents haven't been with us for quite a while, so like 20, 25 years, but I can remember them talking about what he did on the Oregon Trail and especially the travels that he did with John C. Fremont. But he was, in fact, I think, I've got, I just, from one of the files I had, this is actually kind of like a picture of him, Kit Carson, what he looked like back then. I think it's authentic, but some of the facts that we've already talked about, I'll go ahead and tell you. He apprenticed in a saddle shop at the age of 14. We already know that. He served as a guide for John C. Fremont. Already know that. But one thing we didn't know, and this was recorded in some of the history books, he once ran 30 miles to San Diego to get help during a battle. He was in the war. Can you imagine running 30 miles to get help? And he led New Mexico volunteers during the Civil War. Married 3 times and had 9 children. Had 9 children. So, but that was it. My wife and I, Amy, we did travel out to Colorado. He's buried in Tahoe, New Mexico. Kit Carson is, at Kit Carson Cemetery. We visited that. We went out. He has some artifacts in Colorado. We visited all of those historical places to try to gather as much information as we possibly could, but that's been about 10 or 15 years ago, and frankly, I don't remember too much of it. But it's fun, I think, a fun side note, actually. Johnny and I are talking about this, but actually, I don't actually promote this because he wasn't very popular anyway, but Herbert Hoover was my sixth cousin. So, and my parents traced him back, but like I say, he wasn't that popular as a president. I don't actively promote that, but it says here, between the years 1841, I know I said that things started migrating between around the 1840 area, but between 1841 and 1869, over 250,000 people moved, westward to the western function. And like I said, gold lured many, but it wasn't the only reason. Land. I mean, can you imagine just going out and finding a good spot and just, hey, this is mine, I'm going to stake it out. And it was yours. Can't do that nowadays, I guess. Somebody might get upset. But you could do it back then. And if you are all interested, I'm sure you are, otherwise you wouldn't be here, into some of the history stuff. How many of you have watched 1883? Have you?
Some of it, yeah.
No, only one person? No?
I saw the first one and that was it.
Huh?
I saw the first one just because it was free. I don't have it.
Well, I tell you what, Taylor Sheridan is quite the storyteller, and he believes in authentic stuff. If you watch that show, you'll see more of the most authentic capture of what it was like living in that time era than you'll ever see anywhere else. Forget about these cowboy and Indian movies back in the day. But this 1883 will focus on, John of Dutton as far as the TV show Yellowstone with Kevin Costner. But it's really, really quite authentic, and it'll basically kind of solidify some of the stuff that I've already mentioned as far as what they did on the Oregon Trail and how they all traveled on the Oregon Trail. But it actually peaked in popularity in 1852, the Oregon Trail. But he was, like I say, he's buried at Tahoe, New Mexico, and that's about all that I know about him that I can think of that's of interest. But as far as myself now, ending up down here in Douglas, Georgia. I never thought I'd be in Douglas, Georgia, actually. I never thought I'd end up here. I always figured myself to be a Western person, because I love the West. I love the West. I love Idaho, Colorado, all that area out there. But to retire and live in Douglas, Georgia, I would have called you a big fat liar if you told me I was going to do that. But, things change, and fortunately it's been a good stay in Douglas. I got here in 1994. I was born and raised in Iowa and went into the military right out of high school, spent 22 years in the military, 2 trips to Vietnam, and then retired from the military and came to work here at the college. So, of course, what led me here, I got a good friend of mine who lived up in Atlanta while I was actually moving throughout the state. called me up one night. He said, "Hey, you know, I just got through." He was doing motorcycle safety classes. I've done that for about 30 years or so. But he called me up one night and he said, "Hey, you know, I just had this good-looking woman come through my class. I think you might be interested." I said, "Well, I don't know. So I said, "Okay." Well, we set up a blind date, and actually, I was in Atlanta at the time. Amy drove up to Atlanta, and then we met at a gas station and said, "Hi, I'm Amy. Hi, I'm Kit," and the rest is history. So as they say, right? So through good times and thick times, and like everybody else goes through, here we are in Douglas, and that was, I think we got married in 2001. Same time actually I started college, so we've been here ever since, and that's how all that happened. So, and that's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
What range were you in?
I was in the Air Force. I was into guns and weapons mainly. Actually, I can remember to this day, I was standing in Laos. I don't know if anybody knows where Laos is, but next to Cambodia. Standing in Laos, and President Nixon was on TV saying, "We don't have any troops in Laos." I said, "Well, what am I doing here then?" So, just goes to show you, I wouldn't believe too much they say. But yeah, we flew what we were calling over-the-fence type missions. We flew from Laos into Cambodia and Vietnam, what they called over-the-fence missions. But yeah, I retired in 1988, actually. I've been retired for quite some time from the military. Of course, I went in 1967, right out of high school. I graduated in 1966 and went into the military in 67, and I didn't spend much time. I never thought I'd do that either. I never thought I'd spend 20 some odd years in the military. In fact, I was all set to get out. I was over in Germany at the time. I spent 8 years in Germany. I've been to every nation in Europe, even Russia. I've been to every state in the United States. I've been to every country in Southeast Asia, Japan, Alaska, or all the Southeast Asia kind of states. The only place I haven't been really is in the southern part of South Africa type area there. I haven't been too much there, but I was actually in Germany, and I was fixing to get out, and then something happened. The deal that I had cooking fell through, and I had to beg my boss to let me back in the military. And after 8 years, you figure, well, okay, I might just as well stay now. Only 12 more years and I can retire. So that was that kind of story. But yeah, it was a good experience. I think I would recommend it to most anybody. Anytime you can get out to see the world, I would definitely recommend it. Definitely recommend it. And it always amazes me. Some of the Carol mentioned that I'm in charge of the teacher education program here at South Georgia State College now, and we've been doing that for the last 3 years. We've got another bunch of seniors who are graduating in this May. But it always amazes me where so many of these young people nowadays never been outside the state of Georgia. Much less, some haven't even been outside the state or their city that they're in. It's always amazing to me, Because I think it makes you a better person the more that you can get out and see other cultures and other different people and so on and so forth like that. Although I have to admit, the older I get, the more I like dogs instead of people. So, but that was it. On the
Anybody have
military
any
side.
questions?
Kid, let me ask you something. You said Kid was married 3 times?
Yep.
Twice to Indian?
Yep.
So that means are you descendant?
I could be.
You don't know which one of those wives you descended from?
I don't. No, in fact, this whole experience here with the history at High Noon has got me thinking that I might want to do a little bit more of ancestral stuff. My brother did some, and my sister, they're still in Iowa. They still live in Iowa. I'm the only one that went out. I'm the only one that had a college degree too. They never went to college. I'm first generation as far as that goes. But they did a little bit of work on the ancestry.com. But those people want money to do things too, so. But it is kind of history. History has always been kind of interesting to me. Yeah, you bet. Anybody else got it? Good? Yeah.
We thank y'all for coming, and we'll be here again on the 23rd of March with Joanne Hannah Lott. Y'all come back and visit with us. Thank you.